footage we're going to show you is from the Rage Against War rally that happened on the Lincoln Memorial Steps in Washington, D.C. So we want to give you some of the footage from our perspective. You'll see my speech. You'll see Tara Reade's speech, who's one of the producers for this show. You'll see speeches from Tulsi Gabbard, Jimmy Dore, and others. Plus, you're just going to get a lot of the footage from the rally. Really today, because we were working all this weekend at the rally, and the flight happened to be when this live stream is, when the show airs. We wanted to show you just really the rally from our perspective. So that is what you're going to be watching today. Hope you enjoy it. And I'm going to also be making some commentary. I'm going to be popping in here and there, making a bit of commentary about just some of my overall feelings about the rally, some of the things that I saw, some of the things that I felt, just some of my thoughts kind of just now that it's over. So thank you so much for watching. Really appreciate you being here. But first, I do want to tell you, of course, about our sponsor, Field of Greens. Field of Greens is a wonderful drink that you can mix up, or you can sprinkle the powder onto your foods. I really enjoy it, especially after this weekend, to be honest with you. Traveling, you never eat that healthy when you travel. So I always pack with me some Field of Greens. You just mix it into some ice water, and you're getting all of your fruits and vegetables. So it's a really great way to get all of your daily fruits and vegetables into one scoop, right into your drink. I like the lemon lime flavor. It's all organic. These are not extracts. These are actually freeze-dried fruits and vegetables, whole fruits and vegetables that have been made into a powder. And then you can easily mix it into your drink, shake it up, and there you've got all your fruits and vegetables, which really I absolutely relied on this entire weekend. So check it out. Go to Field of Greens. You can get 15% off of your first order by going to fieldofgreens.com and using the promo code CAM. All right, guys, here's a bit of footage. So we're going to start off with my speech from the rally. And I want to say that I absolutely hate public speaking. I know I do a show. I know all of you are watching this, but this is very different than actually standing in front of a crowd and speaking in front of a lot of people. I hate it. So I usually decline doing any of these types of things. But because this is such an important cause, and same thing with the anti-mandate rally that I spoke at last year, these are such important causes that I feel compelled to actually to go and be a part of it. But I hate it. I hate public speaking. So I was, luckily for me, I was third in the lineup of all the speakers. I was really early on during the rally. Max Blumenthal opened it. Max Blumenthal is like the OG of rally speaking. He is the best, in my opinion. Max Blumenthal, really, you should go to the rageagainstwar.com stream and watch Max's speech. He's just incredible. But Max, he opened up the rally. Then Chris Hedges spoke. Luckily, Chris Hedges, he's got a lot of knowledge. The guy's brilliant, and he's a wonderful journalist. And he spoke for longer than his allotted time. And they were asking me, they were saying, we should go and maybe pull Chris off the stage, tell him to wrap it up. He's eating into your time. And I was like, no, let him go. He's brilliant. He's saying so many amazing, wonderful things. And this way I can speak for a shorter period of time. So all of the speakers were given 5 minutes, except for the headliners, which were all of the former people, members of Congress, like Dennis Kucinich, Ron Paul, Tulsi Gabbard. And then Jimmy Dore also was given a lot larger of a time period. He was a headliner for this. So the rest of us got 5 minutes, but mine was only like a minute or two. But I did my best. Here it is. You'll see mine. You're also going to see Tara's. And then after that, you're just going to see some more speakers right here. So thanks for watching. Here it is.
Let's keep the energy up. Let's welcome another beautiful voice for truth, Kim Iversen of The Kim Iversen Show. Thank you, Kim.
Is this one on or is this one? We are here, loud and clear, with the message for the criminals running Washington. The America we love doesn't march us into world war, debilitating an entire generation's future. The America we love doesn't throw money endlessly at the military-industrial complex while neglecting its citizens' needs. The America we love doesn't make money off of global death and destruction. The America we love doesn't jail publishers and journalists who expose government crimes, abuse, and overreach. The America we love use her might to intimidate and destroy other nations, ultimately holding back human beings from living a life of dignity. The America we love doesn't put war profits over people. The America we love doesn't hinder peace talks and doesn't vow to fight to the last human being. Do you hear us, Washington? You are not running us into the America we love. You're destroying us. Hear us loud and clear. No more war. 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 No NATO, no war. No NATO, no war. Free Julian Assange! Free Julian Assange! Free Julian Assange! Free Julian Assange! Thank you.
Let's make some noise for Tara Reid.
Hello, everyone. You know my story. Joe Biden didn't ask for my consent, and his administration is not asking for the American citizens' consent to enter into this proxy war against Russia via Ukraine. Over $100 billion in weapons and aid, and it's going where? We don't know. It's a money laundering scheme. There needs to be a congressional investigation into Joe Biden for what he's doing for all of us.
Could you find an iPhone?
I will be there for you. I will tell my story at that congressional investigation, and I will go under oath.
And there's definitely an outlet where you can plug in. I haven't seen any cords or plugs floating around.
Now, we're here today not because we have anything bad to say about the Ukrainian people. They are suffering. The Ukrainian workers are suffering. The Russians are suffering. This is about the Western Empire that has basically used the military-industrial complex and weaponized it to these endless wars. Julian Assange has given up his freedom to give us that information. When he told us about the 2014, when he published the information about the 2014 coup that was Western-backed, that led to this moment in history that we are now.
Exactly.
The Biden administration
I just got it.
is taking us to World War III, and we're not gonna have it.
Are you good to Jackson Hinkle?
You know, there's a Shakespeare saying, as flies to wanton boys are we to the gods. They kill us for their sport. The elites are not going to kill us. There are more of us than them. We are going to stop this war and stop the endless funding to Ukraine. I see the Russian flags out there. Hello, Russia. You are not our enemy. Russia is not our enemy. China is not our enemy. The military-industrial complex has hijacked the Democratic and Republican Party. And it didn't take much money to do it, did it? So we have to take it back. And we have to demand from these politicians. Because remember, they work for us. We don't work for them.
Maybe someone can ask. Okay, thanks.
I want to leave on this note. Free Julian Assange. 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 Thank you.
Next up, we have someone special. Nellie McKay, singer-songwriter, Broadway performer, all-American irritant to the powerful. She's coming up. She's going to be performing for us, and she's going to be introducing Jimmy Dore!
Come on, all of you big strong man. Uncle Sam needs your help again. He got himself in a terrible jam years ago in Afghanistan. So put down your books and pick up a gun. We're gonna have a whole lot of fun. And it's 1, 2, 3. What are we fighting for? Don't ask me, I don't give a damn. Next stop is in Iran. And it's 5, 6, 7. Open up the pearly gates. Well, there ain't no time to wonder why. Whoopee, we're all gonna die. Come on, generals, let's move fast. Your big chance has come at last. Gotta go get those towel heads. The only good Arab is the one that's dead. And you know that peace can only be won when we blow 'em all the kingdom come. And it's 1, 2, 3. What are we fighting for? Don't ask me, I don't give a damn. Next stop is in Iran. And it's 5, 6, 7. Open up the pearly gates. Well, there ain't no time to wonder why. Whoopee, we're all gonna die. Come on, Wall Street, get off your ass. You know war can be a gas. Lots of good money to be made. Supplying the army with tools of trade. Just make sure when you drop the bomb, you bomb Iran. And it's 1, 2, 3. What are we fighting for? Don't ask me, I don't give a damn. Next stop is in Iran. And it's 5, 6, 7. Open up the pearly gates. Well, there ain't no time to wonder why. Whoopee, we're all gonna die. Come on, mothers, let's go attack. Pack your kids off to Iraq. Come on, fathers, don't hesitate. Send your sons off before it's too late. Be the first one on your block to have your boy come home in a box. And it's 1, 2, 3. What are we fighting for? Don't ask me, I don't give a damn. Next stop is in Iran. And it's 5, 6, 7. Open up the pearly gates. Well, there ain't no time to wonder why. Whoopee, we're all gonna die. Woo! Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome your friend and mine, for now, Jimmy Dore.
Jimmy! Hello, thank you. How about a hand for Nelly one more time? It's great to be here. It's really encouraging to see so many people come out like this. It really warms my heart. And it reminds me of my best friend, Barry Crimmins. He was a hilarious and courageous comedian, a staunch critic of the U.S. government, and I know if he was alive, he'd be here today. Look, there's a balloon. Did this go up? How about this? Is this better? Can I put this in here? Oh, well, take on my feet! Hold on. Alright, so I'll hold this. So I've been thinking of my friend Barry Crimmins. He was a hilarious and courageous comedian. He was a staunch critic of the U.S. government, who I know if he was alive would want to be here today. And people would always ask him, hey, if you don't like America, why don't you move to another country? And he would say, because then I'd become a victim of our foreign policy. Is that what? People can't hear it back. Why is this? It's too low. It was just really loud, and then it got really low. Can we make it louder? No? Can we make this louder? Where's the guy? Is it over here? Can you make it louder? Can you make it louder? No, you can't make it louder. Oh, there you go! There you go! Holy shit, that wasn't hard, huh? What the fuck? Alright, I'm not going to start over, but I should. Start over? Alright. So, I'm reminded, when I look out here, of my friend Barry Crimmins, who was a hilarious and he was a courageous comedian. He was a staunch critic of the U.S. government. If he was alive, I'm sure he'd be here today. People would always ask him, hey, if you don't like America so much, if you're such a critic, why don't you move to another country? And he said, I would, but then I'd become a victim of our foreign policy. Joke worked twice.
He used to say there's a reason why there's no viable third party in America. It's because corporations don't want to cut a third check. And that's a shame, because the two parties in America that we have just ain't cutting it. They both support sending over $100 billion to Ukraine. We could have spent that money saving lives with universal health care, but instead we spend that money taking lives overseas, which is our specialty. We send them what we call foreign aid. Foreign aid, that's money to another country. We drop care packages on their heads from the sky, but it's not full of food. And the only money we have left over, we're going to spend shooting down hobby balloons. Can you imagine if the Independence Day was just about balloons? I mean, the movie, right? The aliens are invading, and man, they are taking their time. At least Macy's figured out how to make a balloon look like somebody. They could attack us with Superman or something. Would Mickey Mouse's adorable ears eavesdropping on our cell phone conversations be so much worse than the NSA? I don't think so. Do you know we can end this war today through diplomacy, but our politicians want to enrich weapons manufacturers so they keep donating to them to the tune of $100 billion. Chris Hedges has called America a mafia state. Systems of governance that are seized by a tiny cabal become mafia states. The military-industrial complex and the Ukraine war represent an orgy of looting and corruption. America is the most powerful mafia that has ever existed. And the hitmen in that mafia have military pilot licenses. The difference between our government these days and the mafia in the 1940s, well, the mafia in the 1940s helped defeat the Nazis. They used longshoremen and union leaders. It's a sad day when you can't even trust the mafia anymore. Do you know what America really needs? We need to take the money out of Ukraine and give it to everybody here so we can buy a balloon and a gun. That's the only way we can settle this. We all need to be floating around shooting each other down out of the sky. Better yet, the guns shoot vaccine syringes. Yeah, that's America. Eat boosters, you motherfuckers. America is so corrupt, even our Peace Prize winners are war criminals. Barack Obama won a Peace Prize and he immediately ramped up the war in Afghanistan, starting bombing Libya, put a hit on Osama bin Laden, dropped 26,000 bombs in Syria. And that's the thing about those Peace Prizes. Nobody ever tries to win a second one. I have a list of things we could have bought with that $100 billion instead of sending it to Ukraine for killing people. Instead of sending money to Ukraine, we could get President Biden a dog that knows where to lead him when a press conference is over. We sent enough money to Ukraine to buy everybody a tank of gas. For all the money we've given to Ukraine, do you know how many eggs we could buy? Almost a dozen. With $100 billion, you know, they could say you can end homelessness for $20 to $40 billion. We could have ended homelessness, then restart homelessness, then say we were only kidding, and then end it again. We can't end homelessness in America. We can't even fix the bridges that the homeless people live under. That's how corrupt we are. Every American for $100 billion could have had a home. But it's way more important that we make sure nobody in Ukraine has a home, because now it's going to be turned into a crater. We could give every homeless person in America $160,000. Or, if you want to help Americans but still show our support for Ukraine, we could buy every homeless person in the United States 7,000 Ukraine flag fleece blankets. We could have used that $100 billion. $100 billion would have provided universal health care to all the people in Algeria, Botswana, Morocco, Rwanda, the Philippines, Sri Lanka, Thailand, Romania, Croatia, Mexico, and Peru. Oh, wait. Those countries already have universal health care. My bad. For the $100 billion, we could buy 2 FTX collapses. For $100 billion, we could buy every person on Earth a blue check mark on Twitter. Because shouldn't we all have an equal opportunity to be insufferable assholes? For $100 billion, we could get Chick-fil-A to stay open on Sundays and perform gay weddings. For $100 billion, we could buy an entire separate Russian invasion of Ukraine and have enough left over to pay Hunter Biden's monthly salary for the rest of his life. For $100 billion, we could break the Bank of England 3 times. We could buy every man, woman, and child in America an opportunity to pick something really nice from the Goop catalog. I know I didn't get that joke either. For $100 billion, we could have the entire cast of Shark Tank dropped into an actual Shark Tank. We could pay for 90 Alex Jones lawsuits. We could buy a shit ton of balloons to spy on China and still have enough money left over for complete regulatory capture. Isn't that special? We could have gotten like 5 experimental drugs approved. For $100 billion, we can remake the Marvel Avengers movie with the entire original cast, but as a porno. We could do that 90 times over. We could have spent that money on transportation, high-speed rail, but it was more important to fund the people who duct tape somebody to a lamppost with their pants pulled down. We could cure cancer, but Big Pharma wouldn't be happy with that because they prefer 6 people instead of healthy ones. With the money we sent to Ukraine, we can hire an entirely separate new police force to protect us from the current police force. We could have funded everyone having free college instead of buying a Mount Kilimanjaro's worth of blow for Zelensky. Why are we sending that money to Nazis in Ukraine when we could be funding Nazis here in America struggling to buy eggs? Isn't that just like our government to neglect all the Nazis we have here in America? This is really a fight over nuclear war. Just across the road, there's a statue of Albert Einstein, and man, he looks depressed. He once said, if I could do it all over again, I'd be a plumber. You know why he said that? I thought it was because his toilet was always backed up. It was because the military-industrial complex used his science to kill people. They took Einstein's discovery and used it to melt the skin of Japanese civilians. Entire cities full of children and animals extinguished in less than a minute. Generations poisoned by radiation. Bombs today are much more powerful than those bombs we dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And I know there's some people who wouldn't show up to this peace rally, this anti-war rally, because of some of the speakers they didn't like on this stage. And I get what they're saying. They're saying, hey, I want to help stop a nuclear war, but not with those people. I get it. I'm the same way. My house caught on fire a couple of months ago. And when the firemen showed up, I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. What's your views on Social Security and Medicare? I mean, I get this is a scary situation. My house is on fire. But first, I need to get your stance on LGBTQ and gender-affirming surgery. I know my house is burning down, but are you vaxxed? I need to see proof of at least 1 booster. I need to know what your position is on gender-affirming surgery. What age should it start and what's your cutoff? And they're standing there looking at me like I'm fucking crazy. I guess you don't get to put out my fire then, and my house is going to burn down. I hope you're happy. So when people give me a litmus test and they ask me what kind of lefty am I always say I'm a Sandy Koufax lefty. Okay. When it comes down to survival, which this is, there is no gift basket with a card thanking you for your participation. You don't get everything attended to like in a hotel, but maybe you do get to survive. And that's the whole point. Save the nitpicking for Whole Foods. The people who won't be attending today had never any intentions of doing so. And if it wasn't one of the speakers, it would have been the weather. It would have been because they had more important things to do than survive. They'll be home watching CNN not cover this all day. The people who don't want to attend this rally because they don't like a speaker reminds me of what W.C. Fields said, that he won't drink water because fish fuck in it. You have to work with people you disagree with big time, even sometimes people you hate, because we need each other to survive. I'm reminded of the words of Frederick Douglass, who said, "I will join with anyone to do good, but with no one to do bad." If Black Panthers can march hand in hand with the KKK down Las Vegas Boulevard to get welfare payments reinstated, we can join hands with the right wing, the libertarians, the left, the socialists, the communists, everybody to stop a nuclear war. And what's happening right here at this rally is what actually scares the hell out of the establishment. Everybody from the left, everybody from the right, everybody from the middle coming together to realize that we have more in common than divides us, and we share a common enemy. That enemy is the military-industrial complex and the oligarchy. The same oligarchy that did a controlled demolition of our economy, and then they want me to hate my neighbor for the pain I'm feeling because of that, because they wouldn't take a vaccine that didn't work the way they said it did in the first fucking place. Well, I'm not going to hate my neighbor. I'm going to love my neighbor. Because my neighbor is suffering under the same oligarchy that I'm suffering under, and he didn't cause it. The oligarchy did, and they don't want us to join together. And I have one message for the right and the left. If everybody on the right could just realize that not everybody on the left likes Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer. We just want to end the wars and have health care that doesn't bankrupt us. That would go a long way. And if everybody on the left could just realize that not everybody on the right is a white supremacist Trump or gun nut, they're just fucking gun nuts. I love you, love each other, come together. I'll see you at the next anti-war rally. Stay together.
Jimmy Dore! This guy should run for president! Yeah! That's right!
People have spoken.
Well, I hope you guys are enjoying this live stream of the footage from the Rage Against War rally that we were at yesterday at the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C. And I'm on a plane back to Los Angeles. So if you're just tuning in, what's going on is I'm flying back to LA right now. And so you are watching a pre-recorded live stream of yesterday's Rage Against War rally. And I'm interjecting some commentary in here. And what I'd like to say right now is reflecting on the rally, before we move on to some more speakers, which we've got coming up for you to watch, Tulsi Gabbard, Ron Paul, and we also have a video of Roger Waters. He also gave a video speech to the rally. So I'm going to air those for you here in just a moment. But reflecting on the rally, a lot of people have been asking me, what did I think about it? There was obviously a lot of controversy with some of the speakers that were there. Some people were, there was a lot of boycotting. There's a lot of smearing. There's been a lot of smeared jobs on the rally, calling it Assad and pro-Putin. And, there's just been definitely a lot of controversy. I think, in reflection, now look, I didn't organize this rally. So I was invited to it. I spoke. I agreed to the 10 points that the rally put on their website as to the demands of what they were asking for. I felt strongly about those demands, so I decided to participate in this rally. There were some speakers that maybe I wouldn't have invited if I were to have organized this event. There were certainly people that I felt like were quite honestly pro-Russia, rather than being neutral in the conflict. But this Rage Against War rally wasn't about Russia and Ukraine specifically. It's about how we're leading into World War III, NATO's expanding, Julian Assange is sitting in jail. There's a lot of demands around this. And so it's not about that conflict specifically. But certainly, if I were organizing this rally, which I'm not, I didn't, I would have probably left out certain speakers. I probably would have invited other speakers. And Chris Hedges said the same thing on the show last week. There are certain speakers he would have had, certain he wouldn't have. And I think that's fair enough. When you're not the organizer, you don't get the luxury of demanding or deciding who is going to be speaking at the rally. That is for the organizers to decide. They're the ones putting in the hard work. They're the ones that are putting this whole thing together. And it's amazing that they're able to do this. So all in all, a lot of people came together from very different viewpoints. You had, like you're about to see, Tulsi Gabbard, Ron Paul, Dennis Kucinich spoke, Jimmy Dore spoke. There are people from all sides of the political spectrum. Scott Horton, who's very libertarian. So you have libertarians, you have progressives, Democrats, Republicans, people coming in from everywhere. Some people are extremely anti-war to the point where they're pacifists. They don't think that there's ever a time to have any sort of intervention. Other people maybe were more pro-Russia in the conflict. But nonetheless, it's just a matter of, we were coming together for the same cause, for those same 10 points. That was very important. And so that's ultimately what I have to say about that. So, all right, here you guys go. You're going to watch Tulsi Gabbard. You're going to watch Ron Paul. You're also going to see Roger Waters. But first, I've got to give you a word from our sponsor, Birch Gold. You can go ahead and get your free info kit by going to birchgold.com/Kim. That is where you can learn about investing in precious metals. It was interesting, yesterday at the after party for the rally, I was standing next to a guy and he was talking to me about the Birch Gold sponsorship. And he says, gold is great. People should invest in gold. It's really stable. It's got a long history of stability, but silver is really also where it's at. And interestingly, with Birch Gold, you can invest in a lot of different precious metals, not just gold. So if you go to their website and you get that free info kit, you can definitely learn about all of the precious metals that you can invest in, not just gold through Birch Gold. So take his word for it. He says all the precious metals, you got to get them all. He was giving me this whole runaround for a good 30 minutes. And I was like, okay, I'll mention it. I promise I'll mention it, that gold is not the only option out there, that there's a lot of other precious metals. And they're really good investments to get yourself really in a place of stability. You don't have to worry about the economy or what the government's doing or where we're at with inflation. You can take charge of your own future by investing in an IRA with precious metals. And you can do that by going to birchgold.com/Kim. You get that free info kit, and then a specialist will talk to you and they'll walk you through the entire process of converting your current 401k or IRA into an IRA in precious metals. So go to birchgold.com/Kim to get that free info kit. All right, Tulsi Gabbard, Ron Paul, Roger Waters, Rage Against War. Enjoy.
Day like today, in January of 2018, over 1 million people all across the state of Hawaii woke to their cell phones buzzing and ringing, radio alerts blaring, with a message that read, ballistic missile threat inbound to Hawaii. Seek immediate shelter. This is not a drill. I and so many others, I happened to be here that morning. I started calling my friends and calling my family, concerned for them and where they were. But just as you here might imagine, if we all got that alert at this moment, so too did people all across Hawaii start to ask themselves the question, where is their shelter? Where do I go? Where do I take my children to be safe, knowing that there is an inbound missile to Hawaii with a nuclear warhead and we have just minutes to live? We had college students at the University of Hawaii sprinting across campus trying to figure out where they could possibly go to get shelter. A father who lowered his little girl down a manhole thinking that may be the only place she may be safe, and telling her goodbye, I might not see you again. I heard after from a father who had one kid in town on the island of Oahu and another child on the other side of the island, and himself in the middle trying to decide which of his children he might spend the last of his minutes with. An impossible decision for any parent to make. Countless others shared their stories of their panic, cowering in the bathtub with their kids, trying to understand. They're telling us to seek immediate shelter. Where do we go? And experiencing that harsh reality. That was as true for us there in Hawaii in 2018 as it is for us here today. There is no shelter. Our leaders failed us then, and they continue to fail us now. Those people who work in our nation's capital eagerly continue to escalate tensions, eagerly wage new Cold Wars, understanding that if there's a nuclear attack, yes, they will be okay in their bunkers, where they literally have plans to be able to continue to wage wars from their bunkers without any consideration for the rest of us and the destruction and incineration that their wars will cause. This was ultimately the thing that caused me to run for president in 2020, because I saw where our leaders were taking us. I saw the dangers of where this new Cold War and nuclear arms race would eventually lead. Whether intentional or accidental, there is only one destination for such wars, and that is a nuclear holocaust. I made it clear then that this is a central issue of our time, the most important issue facing us in the 21st century, and that there was a clear choice in that election. We're either going to work towards peace, de-escalate tensions, move away from this new Cold War, or we will continue to race rapidly towards the nuclear brink, toward a new Cold War with Russia, a new Cold War with China, and therefore racing towards nuclear war. Now, for those of you who remember that election, this issue was not important to the media. They refused to talk about it. They refused to raise the question in debates. There was no other candidate willing to talk about this issue. It was not important to them then, and it's not important to them now. And so here we are, 2 short years later. What I warned about then is now our reality. This proxy war that we're fighting against Russia right now could turn at any moment into a direct conflict between the United States, NATO, and Russia, the country that has more nuclear weapons than any other in the world. Now, anyone with a little bit of common sense knows that a Cold War can very quickly turn to a hot war. And that when you're waging a hot war against a nuclear-armed country, it's just a matter of time before it leads to the use of nuclear weapons at any moment. And here's the insanity of it all. We have talking heads on TV, we have politicians, we have very powerful people here in the United States and all around the world speaking with a straight face. Well, you know, if we start World War III, or when World War III starts, here's how we're going to fight and win. That if Putin decides to use tactical nuclear weapons, here's what we're going to do, as though such a war could ever be won. It cannot be won. World War III cannot be won. They're living in this archaic mindset of World War I and World War II and not facing the realities that we have today. There is no way to win a nuclear war. There is only one end, and that is a nuclear holocaust. So we're gathered here today because we know that it doesn't have to be this way. We know that there is a better way, and that the task before us is urgent and necessary. We have people gathered here from all over the country, people who are gathered here from all ends of the political spectrum. And if we were to have a conversation, my guess is there may be other things we don't agree on. But the truth is that we could disagree about everything else. Everything else. But the one thing that we do agree on that brings us together here today is that we value life. We want to live. We want our loved ones to live and thrive. We want to be able to go out on a day like today and walk in the trees and hear the birds chirping with the sun shining down on our face. We understand that whatever our differences may be, that we must stand together as people who cherish peace, security, and freedom. We must set aside our differences, work together to fire those warmongering politicians from both political parties who serve their masters in the military-industrial complex instead of serving the people. Those warmongers who carelessly and thoughtlessly are sending us hurtling towards a nuclear holocaust that would destroy all life and the world as we know it. The only way we can stop them is when we stand together and lift our voices in unity, telling them no. We will not let you destroy us. We will not let you destroy our loved ones, our communities, our country, here in the United States and around the world. If we stand together on this one issue, we will be able to wrest the power away from those who don't care about us, those who bend the knee to their overlords in the military-industrial complex, take back that power, and ensure that we take those trillions of dollars they are feeding into the war machine and instead dedicate those resources towards peace, prosperity, and freedom. We cannot be free and prosperous or safe unless we are at peace. We are the spark that has the power to light that fire to bring about change. So let that spark of love that exists in every single one of our hearts, that aloha, be that inspiration and that fuel that provides us with the courage to fight against these powerful entities, knowing that our cause is just, it is right, and it is necessary. We must work together towards this future and fulfilling and accomplishing this mission of peace. Thank you very much. Aloha.
Thank you so much for that unifying message. Up next, we've got the man, the myth, the legend, the hero of the Liberty Movement, former presidential candidate, and former congressman. Let's give it up for Congressman Dr. Ron Paul. In the Fed. Oh, right over here.
They stole my line. No, I was going to say and open up by saying thank you very much. I appreciate the invitation. I like to visit places where I have friends. There are a lot of friends of liberty out here and a lot of friends of peace. So I get energized with coming here. A lot of people give me some credit for coming and helping them along. But the truth is, I get energized. Thank you very much for coming, and thank you very much for inviting me. You know, I was going to say that we've heard a lot of speeches, a lot of opinions, and everybody has joined in. I didn't hear anybody saying we need to expand the war. We're not doing well in Ukraine, but we need to take on the Russians. That'll go better. Oh no, we need to go to China, and we're still struggling in Syria. No, nobody's for that. At least I haven't heard them. They didn't get a place. I hope they didn't get a place on the platform for that. So this has been, wonderful to come to a place that comes together on this issue. But the one thing is that I've emphasized over the years when speaking in a couple of campaigns is that, it's serious. We just heard this very serious dissertation about how serious the problem we deal with. But, with that, understanding how serious this is, my admonition is always come together and have fun. And I understand a lot of people have been having fun today, meeting new people and joining. I think that's great. But you know, I also came because I've been concerned. I've been really worried about something, and I haven't figured it out yet. I'm not into technology and all, but I want to know more about this thing called artificial intelligence. What is that all about? But you know, I figured it out. I put up with it for 23 years in the Congress, and there was a lot of artificial intelligence over there, let me tell you. A lot of innuendos and whatnot. But you know, I wanted to simplify my speech, and of course somebody stole my line, but I think that we can deal with the war issue very simply. And believe me, and I'll explain it more why I believe this, that the answer is end the Fed. I knew there were friends here. Thank you. No, and there's a reason why ending the Fed is a movement towards stopping these wars. How do they finance them? They have to tax the people. Well, they tax them with income taxes and all kinds of taxes, but they never have enough money. They never have enough money, so they have to borrow a lot of money, and then people get tired borrowing the money and loaning the money to the government. So what do? They have this little gimmick called run up the debt and print the money. And you know, if you're on the side of thinking our government is too big, and as libertarians, we generally think the government's too big all over the place, and we'd like to cut back. So if you can't print the money, and you can't collect the taxes by debasing the currency and stealing the wealth from the people, unnerving the middle class and the poor, because that's who really pays for this, you couldn't have a war. You couldn't have runaway spending. You couldn't have debts. And we should have it in the Constitution, and Jefferson argued for it. He said that you shouldn't even be allowed to have debt. I think that's a pretty good idea. No debt at all. So that is the way they do, soften it up, and the people go along with it and figure that, yes, we can do it, but they don't understand what's happening. But why do the people go along with it? And we spent a lot of time in the Mideast wars trying to stop that war. I didn't do too well. They still had the war. And you keep wondering, why do they do it? Why does the government do it? It doesn't make any sense. Why do people go to war? You know, one thing I'd like to suggest is if we ever got around to thinking that we ought to vote on the wars instead of letting an executive order take us to war, we ought to have a vote. If you think you should have a war, have a vote and make sure that the vote is carried out by the people between 18 and 24. That is the group that gets punished the most, and the others can create the wars. But, you know, trying to figure still out of that, I thought I'd ask this guy that sort of just helped destroy Germany, Hermann Göring. You remember him? And he has a famous quote out there. Why do the people do it? And this was after he was convicted in Nuremberg. You know, he had some interviews. And they said, why did the people do it? And he had two things. He says, one, you're going to lie to the people, and they have to be big lies. If they're just routine lies, they won't believe it. But if they're so big and so outrageous, they'll say, nobody could believe that's true, and they'd ignore it. But tell big lies and tip them off so that people will go along with the war. Yeah, but still, why do the people do it? And they march off, and a lot of the wars start off, people are against the war. World War II, and certainly the Middle Eastern wars, the people were opposed to it. and this is Goring, and I'll paraphrase, of course. He says, scare the living daylights out of the people. Tell them they aren't patriotic and they aren't for peace. And embarrass them. He says it works every time in every system of government in every country. Just scare the living daylights out of people. And, you know, I think that type of analysis applies to our war. Scare the people and patriotism. And I'll bet you there's many people in this audience that have had to be on the receiving end of that type of thing. Oh, you're not for the wars, and you're un-American. And they did that once to me in the campaign. And it turned out that they were accusing me of being unpatriotic. I wouldn't support the war. You wouldn't support the troops. But when somebody came up with a statistic, it showed that Ron Paul had the most donations from the military. And then I got to thinking, well, why should that be a surprise? I was in the military. They sort of drafted me, and I was in. But the people I knew, they were decent people, and the draft was on at that time. And they would say, well, why are you doing this? And the draft, of course, has not been used, but there's other ways of doing it. The book should be clean. If we're not for the draft, why do we have registration? They know where every one of us is. Not every year where you sign up with taxes. Every minute of the day, they know where every one of us is, and then they still make us go through the ritual of registering in case there's a war going on. You know, it's psychological preparation for people to know that if you want to be a good citizen and you want to be a patriot, you have to go to the wars. And people go along with that, and they don't want to be called unpatriotic. And I think we all sense and understand and may have some empathy for that, but it's wrong. It's deception, and it's part of this thing called artificial intelligence. You know, they come in and they lie through their teeth, and it's all artificial, but the artificialness of it, is such that what you hear there, it might be disinformation, and they have to twist it around. If an individual is guilty of disinformation, have you ever noticed they might blame their opposition for doing exactly what they're doing? And, they reverse it, and so there's a lot of fakery. This gets down to the whole issue of seeking truth in the big picture. We seek truth as we come to events like this, and we run for office, and we write and talk, and so many people here have their own way of spreading a message. So yes, that is real good. But what we need, though, is some people really understanding the issues, because that is what will finally get people to change their minds rather than waiting. You know, one of the lines that was helpful for me in the campaigning, they would say, "Yeah, Ron, that's okay. We're with you on this, but it's so complicated. Well, how do you stop these wars?" And I said, "You just marched in. We can just march home." But now I've changed that a little bit. We shorten that. We have to anticipate. Just don't send them in at all. You know, there's such a fallacy, and this is part of the propaganda thing, that is so necessary, not for patriotic reasons, but for other reasons. There's always an excuse. The one that annoys me the most, or at least close to the most, is this argument. They'll say, "Ron, we need a good war right now. We're having a recession. Have a war and we'll get out of the recession." And this is a lingering of a foolhardy idea that the World War II got us out of the Great Depression. That's stupid. It wasn't true at all. The Depression got worse. Besides, we sent hundreds of thousands of people over getting shot at and killed, and they said, "Oh, the war's good. That'll get us out of our depression." So there's all kinds of excuses like that, and they don't mention the many things that have already been mentioned at this conference, that there's ulterior motives and like profits, and we're getting too many of these special groups, like the military-industrial complex. We have the pharmaceutical-industrial complex, the medical-industrial complex, the whole works. What we need to do is have a people's independence, and they're the ones who should be looked at. And another little rule that I think we should follow is that, and this is one word, I like to narrow down my philosophy. And the other word that I like is voluntarism. Wouldn't that be a wonderful world to live in? That if you apply voluntarism, which is nonviolence, and you have voluntarism, what do you mean? Does that mean you can go to the store and buy what you want? No, voluntarism means that everything is done when it involves two groups or two people voluntarily. Both sides have to agree. Otherwise, you avoid it. You can't force anybody to do anything. And you know what would happen? Peace would break out. So therefore, you have to have the hoodlums up there making it so that it's not voluntary. And then somebody gets to write a lot of regulations, and they get to do all the nonsense they do, and then they bankrupt the country. So that's the problem. I think voluntarism is just a great idea. And the other thing is when government comes to knocking on your door, that is the tough thing. And they will tell you one reason why they're doing this, because we're on the side of truth and the side of democracy and all these things. I work on the assumption of the issue of truth. I think is very, very important. That's what we're seeking here. That's why you're here. But we know the truth. We generally agree with peace is good and war is bad. So we're pretty good on that. But we have to realize that a lot of other people, have to say that a lot of other people don't know much about it. I have a personal belief that we as individuals also seek for excellence and virtue. If we accept voluntarism and we accept this promotion of excellence and virtue, what would happen with that? If that happened, the government would be minuscule and they would be much better and maybe a little more virtuous. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Paul. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Our last closing video is a video sent specially to us by Roger Waters, international rock icon. And right after that, we're going to be marching to the White House.
We've got additional speakers at the White House, too.
Welcome! I have to shout because I'm in Switzerland. Can you hear me? Okay. When I was a young man, my mother once told me this. Roger, throughout your life you will be faced with many difficult questions and quandaries. My advice to you, when you are, is this. Read, read, read. Listen to all sides of the argument, especially from those you don't always agree with. Research thoroughly. When you have, you will have done all the heavy lifting. The next bit is easy. So what is the next bit, Mum? Then you just do the right thing.
The invasion of Ukraine by the Russian Federation was illegal. I condemn it in the strongest possible terms. Also, the Russian invasion of Ukraine was not unprovoked. So I also condemn the provocateurs in the strongest possible terms.
So, on behalf of the silent majority, I now address President Biden. Let us be very clear, Mr. President. I speak for the voiceless majority. You and Antony Blinken and Victoria Nuland and Jake Sullivan and the rest of the warmongering neocons at the heart of government here in Washington, along with the vassal states in NATO, are the principal provocateurs that I mentioned. I am not apologizing for Mr. Putin, you understand, but just to glance fleetingly back at the history of the last 30 years or so, you could have done better. You could have followed President Gorbachev's lead in 1989. You could have kept Secretary of State Baker's promise not to advance NATO 1 yard closer to the Russian border than the eastern extremities of a reunited Germany. You could have responded to President Putin's overtures in his famous 10th of February 2007 speech at the Security Conference in Munich, and shepherded us all towards a much, much safer Europe. Or, in 2008, you could have chosen not to expand NATO eastwards. Or, in 2014, you could have refrained from engineering the illegal Maidan coup d'etat in Ukraine. Or, in 2019, you could have supported the Minsk Accords. Now we're told by Angela Merkel they were just a ruse to buy time to arm Ukraine for the war that you were engineering. But they were also, the Minsk Accords that is, the platform that President Zelensky ran on during his presidential campaign. Well, you fooled me, President Zelensky. I thought you meant all that stuff about ending the civil war in the Donbass and giving Russia, your neighbor, some security assurances. I thought you were coming to your senses. Not a bit of it. In 2022, February, March and April, you could have told Boris Johnson not to fly to Kiev to scupper the peace negotiations, but you chose not to. And then, in September 2022, according to world-renowned investigative reporter Seymour Hersh, you blew up the Nord Stream 2 pipeline. If that turns out to be true, a blatant act of war and an extreme act of global terrorism, releasing, as it did, 300,000 tons of methane into the atmosphere over the Baltic Sea. First you, Mr. President, boasted openly about your intention and ability to do it, and then recently Victoria Nuland boasts about how pleased she is that it's a, quote, hunk of junk at the bottom of the sea. And Antony Blinken boasts how perfectly its destruction suits the US imperial agenda. And now, to cap it all off, you have your idiot mouthpiece, Nick Price, deny that the USA had anything to do with it. We have heard no statement from you, Mr. President. There is no mainstream media coverage. I guess you and the mainstream media think Sy Hersh's piece and the mysterious exploding pipeline is just of no interest to the people. Enough is enough. We demand change. Do the right thing. Implement a ceasefire in Ukraine today. Imagine the collective sigh of relief across the globe, the outpouring of joy, the international joining of voices in harmony, singing an anthem to peace. Imagine John Lennon pumping the air with his fist from beyond the grave. You have finally been heard in the corridors of power. The big, dumb bullies in the schoolyard have agreed to stop playing nuclear chicken. Together,
All right, this is it, everybody on stage. Give peace a chance.
To drop the model of perpetual war as their accepted modus operandum. With the power
Come
of
on over,
love,
guys.
we will stop them from squandering our precious resources on their wars. We will be able to feed our children and keep them sheltered from the storm.